Time now to speak to our second panel of the evening, High Wycombe's finest. I can introduce you to Peter Tichborne, who's a management consultant, and I think plans to vote Tory, am I right?
That's right.
Rebecca Hickman, charity consultant, not quite sure where you are. Chris Morris, marketing manager, and Mark Sweeney from the Students' Union at the local university here. So, Tory since 1951. Can anything change? I better ask each of you. Do you think anything can change this time round, Peter?
No, I don't think so. I think that the way things are going at the moment, with both attitudes to Brexit, the success the Conservatives had in policies outside of Brexit, I think that with Boris in charge, we'll see a resounding victory.
Right. So
across the country.
It from that you're planning to vote.
Absolutely.
For Tory.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Rebecca, I mean, do you think things can change?
I think
time?
they absolutely can. We, as in Labour, came within a whisker of winning it in 1997. We were only 6,000 votes behind in 2017. And in the EU elections, the Tories came fourth in this constituency. And I think people have had enough. I think they're tired of Steve Baker. I think they feel that we've had an MP that hasn't represented us. We're a Remain constituency, but we have one of the most hardline... Is
Labour a Remain party?
Well, it's a democratic party. It's saying,
so
put it back. It means have a second referendum.
Right.
It's the only party that's actually saying have a second referendum, go back to the people, and let the people decide based on the information that we actually now have and that we didn't have in 2016.
Okay, well, we'll get into that in a moment. But Chris, I mean, do you think things can change here? Or
I'd echo a lot of what you just said, actually, other than the fact that I'd probably put more of an emphasis on the Liberal Democrats, which may sound a bit strange. We didn't do so well in 2017. But if you look at the European elections, and if you look back, I know it's going way back a bit now, but look back at 2010, we were way ahead of Labour. Suggests we've got natural sympathy towards the Lib Dems in this constituency, and as we get over the hangover from the coalition years and then throw Brexit into the mix, and the fact that we're the only party that's giving a clear way out of this, just stop the whole thing.
Now, Mark, I was at the university today. I mean, the problem, I guess, with university students tends to be turnout and registering and where they register. I mean, are they going to get sorted out, do you think, this time?
It's turnout as well. I think it's confusion half the time as well, and we've seen a lot of the dialogue, particularly around Brexit, has been particularly confusing and often misled. At the university, working really hard to get as many students registered to vote as possible. Like you said, the majority is 6,500. We've got 14,000 registered students at the university. Around 8,000 are based
to vote in this constituency.
Not to vote in this constituency, but around 8,000 are based within this location. So that is a huge number of potential voters for any party to tap into, particularly, and is quite, I think, concerning if done right for Steve Baker, because I'd echo Rebecca's comment.
Right.
He's not been a particularly representative MP of this constituency, and definitely not in the last 9 years.
But to remove the Tory candidate, because we've got to remember that there is no MP now. I mean, we're into this election, but to remove the Tory candidate here probably will require some sort of electoral arrangement between Labour and Lib Dems, which doesn't look like it's going to happen.
It doesn't, and I think that's a real shame, because I think the two parties have an awful lot in common, and I think the Lib Dems are wrong to be seeking to run an active campaign here, because I think a vote for the Lib Dems in Wycombe is going to be a vote for the Conservatives. It's going to help to return Steve Baker. And I think if the Lib Dems were serious about wanting to get rid of the Tory government, and I think they are serious about that, then they would not be running quite such an active campaign in Wycombe.
Is there a chance of an agreement locally? I mean,
above my pay grade, that one, but...
but would you like to see one?
In honesty...
So you just vote Lib Dem?
I'm definitely a Lib Dem voter.
Right.
I don't trust the Labour leadership enough.
So Rebecca votes Labour, and then where's the...
Well, the Lib Dem party line is there's no agreement to be made with the Labour Party, isn't there? So, or Jeremy Corbyn specifically, but it's not explicitly said that about the Conservative Party. So again, with Rebecca, I would fully echo that comment, because it becomes a vote for the Conservative Party.
We've got to go to a break, and we'll come back with more. But this must be music to your ears, or to the Conservatives' ears, if there's no sort of agreement to change
indeed,
things.
but whether it be if it's a vote for Labour, it's a vote for Jeremy Corbyn, and now you've got people like Ian Austin coming out against his own leader saying, please, Labour voters, vote Conservative, keep Jeremy Corbyn out of power. You know, if members of his own party cannot support Jeremy Corbyn, how on earth can an average Labour voter vote for him?
All right, well, look, thanks very much for that. Stay with us. I want to talk about exactly that, whether these sort of day-to-day controversies impact the way you may cast your vote. We'll be back here in High Wycombe with our panel just after the break. Welcome back to High Wycombe with our panel of local voters: Peter Tichborne, Rebecca Hickman, Chris Morris, and Mark Sweeney. And we were just talking before about whether these stories that come up every day, the controversies about Labour, the controversies about the Tories, both parties struggling at the moment, do they have any impact on the way you vote?
Well, I think we already said it. I don't think the travails we see of the Labour Party are going to impact how I vote, because I was always going to vote Conservative anyway, and thus are more likely. But I think, as we were saying just before the break, when his members of his own party are coming forward and saying, you cannot vote for Jeremy Corbyn, this man will destroy the country, I think an ordinary voter who may have been considering voting Labour needs to stand up and think very carefully about who they're going to vote for.
Yeah, but the Tories got their own problems. I mean, Alan Cairns resigning, Jacob Rees-Mogg, what he
indeed.
was saying. Is
Yes.
I mean, it's not all plain sailing for the Tories, is it?
No, not at all, no.
Yeah, I mean, does it have an influence on you?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I think Ian Austin has his own axe to grind, and he's grinding it in a very silly way. I think that we all have our own views on Jeremy Corbyn. I think he would make a wonderful leader. I think he set out an incredibly positive vision for our country that I think people are just crying out for right now.
Would Labour be in a better place with a more centrist leader, perhaps?
Possibly, but possibly not, because I actually just think we have gone so backward over the last 9 years. Looking around in Wycombe, we have 13,000 families living in poverty here. We have homeless numbers at unprecedented levels, 150 people sleeping on the streets in this small town just over the last year. And I think that these are the kinds of injustices that people are now turning around and saying we need a new pathway, and the only party that's really offering that is Labour. They say that...
Chris, let's just have a word on this issue.
I'm lucky, as a Lib Dem, we've not had any controversies yet.
Yes.
So obviously it's not going to affect the way I'm going to vote. But one of the things that you're talking about there, what worries me, going back to the question about would Labour do better with a more centrist leader, obviously both the major parties are now skewing in either direction. That worries me a lot, to be honest, because I think, regardless of which side it is, I think the further you go to the extremes, the less workable it becomes. I'm very much a centrist. I'm a Lib Dem now, and I'm a member and I campaign for them, but I have voted for both the Tories and Labour in the past when they had more moderate, more rational leaders and policies.
And Mark, are you finding that students who perhaps were, too young to vote in 2016 are very keen to vote now, or perhaps who just didn't bother to vote in 2016?
Very much so, and I think obviously because, like you say, they would have been too young to vote, so they almost feel an injustice that they didn't get to be part of that decision-making process. And as the time has gone on, we've seen the rhetoric and the language that was used as part of the Brexit referendum, and particularly in previous general elections. So they want to be able to have their impact in terms of actually getting involved and having their say as quickly as possible, to be honest. And it is a really challenging time because, like we said, these daily occurrences where there's news stories coming out. And I think the biggest thing for students and also the wider public who are not necessarily strongly informed is when those news stories are reported in the media and they hit the headlines and they're actually factually incorrect in the way that they're reported. We look at the Conservatives this week and their video of Keir Starmer and how quickly they had to double down on that. It just makes the whole process harder for anybody to be able to understand. And
I mean, has Brexit done something to this country that is going to take a long time to recover from?
Well, I think for the Conservatives, what Brexit has done is distracted from all the good work they've done. The reality is, since 2010, 3.7 million more people are in work, largely full-time jobs. In 2010, as Labour left, unemployment had gone up by 500,000. In 2010, 1 in 4 pounds that the government was spending.
But has it polarised?
Well, it has polarised
in a way that may be difficult to recover from.
But in some ways, I think it's distracted us from the issues of the day. And I think that although we are talking, particularly the Lib Dems are making this very much about Brexit. This isn't just about Brexit. This is avoiding a Marxist government.
Do you think it's polarised the country in a way that would be difficult?
Yes, no, I think it has, and I think that's very unfortunate. But I do agree that actually the issues of the day that people are focused on now aren't necessarily about Brexit, and it is about the Conservative record, and that is a record of rising child poverty, rising inequality, chronically underfunded schools, our NHS service on its knees. And that's what
Chris,
people
last
want
word,
to put
30
behind
seconds
them.
left.
I'd agree with a lot of what you said about the problems of the country. The problem is that none of that can be sorted until Brexit is resolved. And the only feasible way that I can see to resolving some really moving on quickly is to stop
any of you
the whole
see
thing.
Brexit being resolved by this general election?
Yes.
You can?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll see a Conservative majority.
You think? OK. All right. Well, look, thanks very much indeed. That's about it from High Wycombe. Path to Power is off to Essex tomorrow. Isabel Webster is next with Sky News Tonight.